The discovery process of just like throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks is honestly what got me here.
So one thing that we as a unit have recognized is your uncanny ability to just crank out content continuously, man. Like, it's crazy because us as a two-man unit can't even keep up with you when it comes to the content. So, like your process, like we wanted you to really kind of break down what your process is. How do you know let's start here. Like, how do you know, like, what to post? Like, is there research that's involved with that? Like, how do you know?
I don't always know. Like, even still, I post content and it gets like super low engagement or it flops and like people are not as excited about it as I thought they would be. Like, you don't really know 100% of the time, but I guess what gives me reassurance is that I know my audience pretty well. I know that my audience primarily consists of like, I would say 85% males, 15% female. They're all between the ages of like 25 to 35, somewhere in that age range. I know that they're mostly all music creatives, songwriters, artists, producers. So that kind of gives me a trajectory and a path forward in terms of creating content. And I found that's like the biggest thing, right? It's just knowing who your audience is. And as long as you have an idea of who your audience is, that gives you more clarity on what types of content your fans want to see from you. So that's where I would start. And that's where I did start, once I started getting active on socials. It was just a matter of creating enough engagement where I get to know my audience. And if I know who they are, then I create content that, caters more to what they're looking for and what they want to see from me. And as long as I can do it in an authentic way and in a way that is really me, then it's a win-win.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that comes down to really just taking a lot of action and putting out a lot of content. Because, a lot of people come in and they see Kato where he's at now, and it seems like every piece of content he puts out is like a home run because it 99% of the time it kind of is, but y'all don't see like the 15 years of posting content, figuring that out. Like you must have posted hundreds of thousands of pieces of content before like figuring out what works for him, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people just overthink the whole process of posting content, so you can't know what's going to work until you start putting stuff out there,
Yeah. The discovery process of just like throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks is honestly what got me here. Like, I can't even front. It's just, and I still do that now. Like, there's a lot of things that we do that people might not necessarily see, that we are just testing things all the time. Like, we're throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks. And this is coming from someone who has already put in 12 years, and we're still doing that to this day. I think that's how you innovate. That's how you stay fresh and like ahead of the curve, is by, especially in the music industry, bro, because shit just moves so fast and there's always new things. Like, now we have NFTs, like that's a big thing. I still haven't fully dived into that, but I'm going to try some shit. Like, we're already talking about ideas of like what we could do for our first NFT release. And I see other music creatives doing it too. Like, they're just throwing shit against the wall and kind of riding the wave and see what works. But it's like that constant process of testing, where all the discovery happens. And once you discover what is working, then you have a very clear path forward and you can just focus on execution,
Facts. So for you, obviously, I know you post all different styles of content. in your opinion, like, what do you feel like your audience engages with the most? Like, what style of content? Because, you know, you have the type of content that you do where it's like the how I made this beat
Yeah.
type of content where you pretty much showcase how you created it and did things like that, you know. And
Yeah.
then you have other ones when you're kind of showcasing just a record that you've done.
Right.
You're putting other people into the spotlight. You know, so it's like you have technical posts and then you have more entertainment style posts where you might do
Yeah.
something funny. Like I remember one time you did a post. It was one of these like viral challenges that happened, and you were like, you brought it back to your karate days, and you had like the little cap, the little cap challenge where you did like I don't even, a roundhouse
Oh
kick.
yeah, yeah, the bottle cap challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You got
And
stuff
you
like
bodied
that.
that shit too. He bodied that shit though.
I know.
Oh shit,
No.
I gotta dig up that post and reshare it, man. I think that was a
Yeah,
moment.
it was.
Yeah, bro. Like I've tried a lot of different shit. I've done like skits before, found out that that wasn't something that I really want to continue doing. In terms of like what I know people like seeing from me at this particular stage in my career, right? I want to make that clear that this may not be the same for everyone else in this room because everyone's at a different stage. You guys have different audiences. But for this particular stage in my career, I think what my audience gravitates towards and what gets a lot of engagement is when they see that I am when I'm like actively working on music with other creatives and other collaborators that they're also familiar with, you know? So like my most recent post about working on the Mount Westmore stuff, working with Snoop Dogg, like it's going to be on his album. Like people feel excited about that because they've probably been following me for a long time now and they're seeing the trajectory, they're seeing the come up, and they can feel like, damn, I remember seeing Kato before he was signed to Funk Volume when he was working with Jaren and was still relatively unknown. And now he's working with fucking Snoop Dogg. Like, that's dope, you know? But that's because my audience has been there with me for a long time, you know? So what I would say is like, I also have types of content where I'm like sharing my informational tour stuff. Like I pull up to these cities, drop a lot of gems. I share a lot of that kind of stuff. I also post like tweets, you know, because I can see in real time like the engagement on the tweets. So I know which ones do well. I repurpose that into Instagram content, put a little cool photo with it. And those oftentimes do really well on Instagram too, right? And then I have like the beat videos where I'm previewing new music and new beats that I'm working on. I might tell people to remix it or to duet it. We're working on new content series, like a high quality, consistent, like monthly or weekly series that I'm delivering that will include like me just chopping it up with other creatives in the industry. And then we hit the studio and work on records together. And that whole process is documented. And it's like the high quality, like almost internet series that people can look forward to on a regular basis, right? So we're working on that now.